Hello, I'm Sudhir Jambhekar, an architect with 50 years of experience working from New York City in the United States. I've been requested to talk to all of you by Mr. Milind Sathe of Khula Asman and Indiaart Gallery, and I'm honored to be here speaking to you about how my career evolved and how it might influence the growth as well as how it might encourage you to do what you like to do or believe in. So again, as I said, I'm an architect. I was born in Ahmedabad in a modest income family or humble background. I came to Mumbai at JJ College of Architecture for doing my bachelor's degree. After that, I worked in Mumbai for a few years. Since I came from a humble background, I had to work for a few years in Mumbai, earn my way to go to United States, which is what I did in about 1969. After reaching United States, I was very fortunate to work with one of the well-known architects from New York by the name of I.M. Pei, and subsequently I had other opportunity to work with also some great and well-known architects. But to do what I did, I had to first work for a few years, save some money, and then go and educate myself for further, you can call it degrees or education or for exposure purposes. And so I did go to Columbia at a much later age than most younger generation does today, and I graduated from Columbia University. Subsequently, I also joined with another well-known architectural firm called Cohn Peterson Fox, which is quite renowned in the world, and then subsequently I started my own practice, and then that practice was merged with another well-known firm in New York by the name of FX Fowl, now currently known as FX Collaborative. So and I'm very fortunate that I was, when I merged the firm, I joined them as a senior partner in the firm, giving me opportunities that I never envisioned in my entire life. But to tell you some story about my evolution and how it happened, which might be of interest as well as help to all of you, that when I was studying at JJ College in about 1959 or 60, a few years down the line, there was an article published in the magazine called Architectural Record, and there was a project in the city of Montreal called Place Ville-Marie designed by I.M. Pei. And we as a students, we didn't even know how to pronounce the name of Pei, and we would all say Pi, and it turned out to be much humorous in later years when I learned how to pronounce his name correctly. The point is, we were totally in awe looking at this project in Montreal, and it was published in Architectural Record, and it drew our attention because the name sounded much more like an Indian last name, Pai. It so happened that in 1986, quite a few years down the line, while I was working at Cohn Peterson Fox, I was given the opportunity to work on a project in Montreal, only 2 or 3 city blocks away from I.M. Pei's famous project of Place Ville-Marie. The project that I worked on for KPF was an IBM's headquarter building in Montreal. The point about the story is that one never knows as to how one can evolve and what the future brings to you in terms of what you can do, what you can contribute, and how you can make the difference. So I encourage all of you who are listening to me is to think in terms of future and always think creatively. With that as one of the stories, when I went to United States, as I was saying earlier, I worked with I.M. Pei's office, and then subsequently I worked with, I went to school, and then I went to join with KPF, starting my own practice. So come to that point, I never in my entire life thought that I would or I could ever have a practice of my own under the name of my own name, and that too in a foreign country, and that too in a city like New York, which is one of the most, as you know, important business centers in the world. And here I started a practice in the United States, in the city of New York, with my partner Mark Strauss, and that too in a building called Carnegie Hall. The Carnegie Hall, as you may know or you may not know, is one of those famous performing arts theater or a center, and it is said that if you performed in the Carnegie Hall, most people think that they have arrived or they have reached a point in their careers that sort of is the sort of testament to being recognized or acknowledged or achieving something great. So here we are. We started this practice in 1994 in Carnegie Hall, and in few years down the line became big enough to sort of think about what next. And that process of evolution, my partner Mark and we both began to talk to Robert Fox and Bruce Fowle, my two partners in those days, and began the discussion of merging our practice with them, resulting into this merger. And that provided me a completely different platform to work in the field of architecture. I established an international studio for the FX Fowle or FX Collaborative down the line in about 2005 or 4, and explored and expanded a practice into the international markets, and therefore gave me an opportunity to design projects all over the world. I've designed projects in Osaka, Japan. I've designed projects in Seoul, Korea. I've designed projects in Budapest in Hungary. I've designed projects in Dubai, Saudi Arabia. I've designed projects in India. And of course I've designed projects in the United States. Not to forget, by the way, Turkey, Istanbul, I've designed quite a few projects. So it completely gave me a different opportunity not only to explore the world, but also to learn about a number of things. In terms of creative thinking, I began to explore the possibility in terms of what does it make to do a great building? What influences us to really create the great buildings? And one of the most common things people talk about is about the culture and how the whole world in this globalization has become similar or same, or how all buildings or architecture looks the same whether you go to New York or to Tokyo or to Paris or to Mumbai. So the questions began to raise in my own mind in terms of how do I make the difference? What do we do differently? What can we think differently? Or what can we learn differently from different parts of the world? And that led me to think about and basically thought and started a process of thinking in terms of climate, thinking in terms of culture, thinking in terms of specificity on the projects, and which resulted into a very fulfilling practice of the last 20-25 years. I have published quite a lot of architectural books. 10 volumes are titled as Thinking Design, and I purposefully created these books to explain the design process in terms of thought process, thinking process, in terms of what does collaborative thinking can bring to the table. What can you do differently to think in a manner that the society or that specific part of the world would benefit in terms of changing their quality of life or changing the way they live at a fundamental root level. So we experimented with a lot of ideas. We have experimented with a lot of different things. The other thing I want to mention, as we were practicing, I was never fearful of doing anything new, which I had not done before. For example, we were asked to design a bridge a number of years ago in Dubai, and we were asked to compete against some of the global firms, and we said, well, we have never designed a bridge. Can we really do it? We questioned it, we doubted it, we went through the agony of sort of declining the project and all of that. But after much of that decline in our own minds, the clients still insisted that we should participate, and so we did. And to our surprise and to our own incredible fulfillment, we won the project. We won the project in the international competition. It's called the Sixth Crossing, or it has also a other long name. But anyway, so it was the beginning of a designing of a completely typology which I never thought about that I would ever do. And I did it, and I won the project. Similarly, a number of years down the line, I was asked to design a project in Osaka, Japan. Now, when the client came to me to meet me in New York City, he flew from Tokyo to meet me, and the meeting was set up in the afternoon at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. And he came down, I made a presentation to him, and at the end, I was so curious as to why he came all the way from Tokyo to meet me and to interview me, because the project site was based in Osaka, Japan. And I asked him a question at the end saying, why me? Because Osaka, Japan has one of the greatest Japanese architect practicing out of the city, and his name is Tadao Ando, by the way. And I told him that even people like me at my age, I look up to Tadao Ando as one of these great architects. And so I said, why not Tadao Ando, or why not some other great Japanese architects? And so at the end, when he left me at 4 o'clock or 4:30 to catch his flight going back home, he said, by the way, Shigeru Ban is also a good friend of mine, another, by the way, well-known architect. But it didn't matter. 3 days later, they sent me a note saying, you have been selected to do the project. And I designed that. Unfortunately, the project didn't get built for other reasons. But the point is, I had this wonderful experience of working in Japan, and that too in a city of Osaka, an incredible city. And I give you one more example of these incredible sort of opportunities that I got. I was designing a project in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, for actually two different clients. One was for King Faisal's foundation called Al Faisaliya Foundation, and other one was for a pension fund which were designing, or which were building, which were going to build, I should say, the project called King Abdullah Financial District. So it was very interesting to get such opportunities in a city of Riyadh, which, as you know, is capital city of Saudi Arabia, and is pretty conservative country and conservative city in many ways. And yet, on both of these projects, I was asked to design a mosque. In case of Al Faisaliya Foundation, it was a part of the competition, and in case of King Abdullah Financial District, it was a project that was commissioned to me. And mosque, as soon as they asked me to design a mosque, obviously it raised a lot of doubts in my own mind, as I am not that familiar with the religion. I'm not that familiar with the specificity of some aspects of how that building functions. Obviously, I am from India. I have been to many incredible architecture of the Islamic periods in India, from Mughal periods to all other periods in India. And therefore, I had some exposure, but still I wondered that Could I really design a religious building for the faith? But the clients in both cases insisted, no, you can do it. We put full trust in you. And the building that I've designed for King Abdullah Financial District, the mosque, is already built. It looks great. It is considered as one of the 8 contemporary mosques in the world. And so what is the bottom line of all of that? That I think, I don't want to go the route of talking about the usual advice that everybody gives or usual messages people talk about, work hard and all of that usual thing. I think the only thing I would suggest all of you to think is to always think uniquely, always think creatively, always think innovatively, always learn from others, always learn things before you reject things. And in that context, all I can give you is one small example of Picasso as one of these greatest 20th century painter, who actually was trained as a classical painter. And his earliest paintings, and particularly the famous painting of his so-called blue period, is his own mother's painting on when she was ill. And it's such a wonderful classical painting. And the same artist down the road, as he evolved himself into one of these great masters of modernism, went through so many phases from cubism to finally ended up with basically primitivism. Primitivism is something that is incredible evolution of a person. So the lesson I learned out of Picasso's work is very simply is that never stop evolving yourself, never stop thinking, never worry about things in terms of what the next phase in your life may be. And that evolution of him made him one of these great artists of our time, and I truly admire that evolution in him. He was also very prolific, by the way, as an artist. I do not want to compare myself to the great masters in the world, but in a small way, I must say that I got plenty of great opportunities, and I did seize every one of them and try to make the difference. Thank you so much.